They say a priest is born to bless and not to shed blood. Yet one story in the Indian epic says a priest once became a fighter when order failed. In a forest hermitage, a Brahmin child was born to sage Jamadagni and his wife Renuka. The boy was named Rama. He was raised for prayer, study, and service. In time, people would call him Parashurama, Rama of the axe. He would carry a weapon granted by Shiva, punish kings who forgot their duty, and return to a quiet life when that work was done. If you want clear, long-form stories from myth and history told without fluff, like this video so it reaches more people, subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and drop a comment with the next figure you want covered. Now the story begins. Rama grew up in a small ashram where work and worship were the same. Each morning, Renuka walked to the river before sunrise, shaped a simple clay vessel with steady hands, filled it with water, and carried it back to the sacred fire. Jamadagni kept the altar lit and welcomed any traveler who arrived. The hermitage had a divine cow named Kamadenu that could provide food for guests. No one left hungry. The child learned basic rules that would guide him for life. Feed a guest before yourself. Keep your word even when it is hard. Use tools only for proper ends, and treat strength as a duty rather than a prize. Alongside these household lessons, he learned recitation, simple ritual, attention to breath, and control of the senses. The training was steady and plain. There was no luxury, and there was no neglect. One tradition says Shiva answered Rama's penance and gave him an axe. The gift was a sign of trust, but also a burden. Jamadagni told his son that a weapon is for defense and as a last resort. They wrapped the axe and put it aside. Rama kept to daily work. He tended the cow, brought wood, swept the compound, and joined prayer. He trained his mind to stay on task until it was complete and to speak only when speech was needed. He grew in skill and patience. A difficult episode followed. Renuka lost her focus for a moment when she saw a royal procession pass along the river. Her mind wavered, and the clay vessel she shaped each day broke. Jamadagni treated this lapse as a test for his sons. He ordered them to show complete obedience by striking their mother. The older brothers refused. Rama obeyed. Jamadagni later restored Renuka to life and removed the memory of the act from the brothers, but the command and the obedience remained in the tradition. This scene is hard to accept today and should be stated plainly as an extreme demand in a setting far from our own. Later retellings attach sorrow and penance to it. The point the compilers preserved is not that families should copy such a test, but that absolute obedience can create harm if it is not guided by humane limits. That tension stays with the character and shapes his later choices. The turning point came with a royal visit. Kartavira Arjuna, a powerful king known for pride and strength and wealth, arrived with his men. The ashram fed them. The king saw Kamadenu and demanded the cow for his court. Jamadagni refused. The king's men seized the cow and took it by force. Later the group returned and attacked the unarmed sage. Jamadagni was killed at the altar. When Rama returned and found his father dead, he made a clear vow. He would punish Kartavira Arjuna, and he would break the power of violent rulers who used soldiers to harm the weak. He did not set out to build an empire. He set out to correct a failure of duty. Rama found Kartavira by the Narmada and defeated him in open sight. He then moved against other houses that used force without law. The Puranas say he cleared the earth of corrupt Kshatriyas 21 times. The count is not a census. It signals repeated action and complete coverage. After each cycle of fighting, he performed penance. He also gave land and war to priests to great sacrifices instead of keeping estates or building a court. The pattern of fight, penance, and gift repeated until the danger passed. The legend presents a firm check on rulers who abandon their duty and a firm check on a person who applies that correction, so that force does not turn into gain. Local traditions connect him to the west coast of India. People in Konkan and Kerala tell that he threw his axe into the sea and that the sea moved back. The coast is said to be land thus gained. This detail links the growth of farms, ports, and temples on that coast to a sacred act. It is a way to say the land has purpose and protection. Many shrines in the region keep his image and give him a place in yearly rites. The legend works as a charter for settlement and a marker for identity for coastal communities. In the north, he appears as a teacher and a strict judge. Princess Amba sought help after Bhishma took her from her chosen husband and then refused to marry her. Parashurama challenged Bhishma for her sake. They fought for a long time and neither won. The fight ended by agreement. The case shows that even a respected vow keeper like Bhishma can cause harm when a vow is applied without care for the person affected. It also shows that Parashurama was willing to act for a victim, but that even a strong teacher could not solve every wrong by force. The outcome of Amba's life belongs elsewhere in the epic, but this episode fixes Parashurama's role as a check on the misuse of status. Another student came with a false claim. Karna wished to learn advanced weapons that answer only to pure vows. He told Parashurama that he was Brahmin. Parashurama accepted him and taught him secret formulas and the highest use of arms. One day, the teacher rested with his head on Karna's lap and fell asleep. An insect bored into Karna's thigh. He did not move so as not to wake his teacher. When Parashurama woke and saw the wound, he concluded that such trained endurance pointed to a warrior's upbringing and not a Brahmin's household. He learned that Karna had lied. The teacher spoke a curse that worked as a limit rather than as revenge. The knowledge would slip from Karna at the hour he needed it most. The result was strict, but it matched the rule taught throughout the story. Do not gain power by falsehood. Skill learned on a lie does not hold. Parashurama also appears in the Ramayana. Rama of Ayodhya broke Shiva's bow in King Janaka's hall to win Sita's hand. Parashurama arrived and questioned the act. He offered his own bow and asked the young prince to string it. Rama strung it with ease. Parashurama saw that the younger man carried balanced strength suited for rule, and that the time for his own form of harsh correction was ending. He stepped aside and gave a blessing. This meeting is brief, and it makes a simple point. A person who uses strong measures must stop when a fair ruler stands ready to lead without them. After the campaigns, Parashurama did not keep power. He returned to forests and hills and lived in prayer. Many sources count him as a long-lived figure who appears across ages. In several regions, he is linked to the training of warriors and to discipline of body and breath. South Indian martial arts communities often connect their memory to his name. This is a cultural link rather than a strict proof, but it also shows how his figure serves as a model for practice without cruelty and for control without display. In temple iconography, he remains a guardian with an axe that is present but at rest. A few basic terms help with clear reading. A Brahmin is a member of the group that tends learning, ritual, and counsel. A Kshatriya is a member of the group that tends rule and arms. Dharma is a set of duties that holds a family and state together. When protectors break their duty, counsel can become enforcement. The legend places Parashurama at that junction. He did not fight for conquest. He fought to stop misuse, and he stopped when a steadier ruler stood ready. In many accounts, he then gave away the land that came under his hand and went back to simple life. The structure is consistent throughout the sources. The moral questions in this story are direct and practical. When the people who are supposed to protect others become abusers, what can restore order? When the law is bent by those in charge, who can set it straight? The answer given here is that a limited and focused use of force can be justified when it is done to stop clear harm, when it is followed by penance and repayment, and when it ends as soon as the goal is met. The person who uses that force should not seek wealth or office from it. He should aim to repair, not to rule. He should be ready to hand authority to someone who can govern fairly. It is also important to say what the story does not ask anyone to copy. A command to strike Renuka is an extreme order from a very different time and setting. It is not a model for family life or for moral testing. Later retellings link that episode to sorrow and to long penance. The large number of slain warrior houses is also not a pattern for general action. The stated aim in the sources is corrected after murder and theft, not a war on a group for its name. These limits are part of the point. The legend shows a response to a failure of duty, not a license to punish without cause. Across the two main epics, his role stays clear. In the Mahabharata, he stands for strict vows, straight speech, and firm action against the misuse of rank. In the Ramayana, he recognizes that a steady and fair ruler can lead without harsh judgment. He appears as an avatar of Vishnu, whose function is to restore balance when too much power sits in one hand. Once the balance is restored, he steps back. He is not a king. He is not a court priest. He is the figure that tradition brings in when normal order has failed and must be reset so that ordinary law and ordinary rulers can work again. Many readers ask about the line that says he cleared the earth of Kshatriyas 21 times. The number stands for a full and repeated correction. It is a sign in old storytelling that the task reached every place where the fault existed and that the work was done again to make sure it held. Several Puranas end the cycle with a great sacrifice at which he gives land to priests and asks no share. That shows closure and a return to peaceful norms. It also answers the concern that force could become a habit. In this legend, it does not. Force is tied to a narrow purpose, and the person who uses it accepts limits. Place-based memory adds further layers. Along the West Coast, the story of the axe and the sea is part of public lore and local rites. Families say their towns stand on land he opened. Priests in coastal temples include his name in prayers for safety in steady seasons. These uses of the legend mark belonging and duty. They say that land, work, and worship are linked, and that rule must serve those links rather than break them. In some temple records and grants, you can trace how communities use his name to support the buildings of tanks, shrines, and roads. The figure functions as a sign of protection and as a reminder of the limits of power. From the teacher-student episodes, a clear set of rules emerges that still fits daily life. Do not lie about who you are to gain skill or rank. Do not use special skill to harm the weak or to keep a feud alive. Do not hide the truth from a mentor who has trusted you. Do not cling to a weapon when the time for peace has arrived. Do not apply a vow in a way that injures an innocent person. These rules are simple and fair. They keep strength from turning into abuse. They keep learning tied to honesty. They make it possible for correction to end and for normal life to continue. The last phase of his life repeats the same pattern. He fasted, prayed, and taught. He spoke when asked and kept silent when not asked. Later heroes met him in mountains and asked for guidance. He gave advice in clear terms. He told a fighter to protect the weak, a ruler to listen to counsel, and a student to tell the truth. He kept the axe, but it was at rest. His presence in later tales acts as a check on anger and on careless rule. The tradition keeps him as a living witness who can appear again when public duty needs a plain reminder. It also helps to note the range of sources that preserve these episodes. Accounts of Parashurama appear in the Puranas, in the Mahabharata, and in the Ramayana. Details can vary by region and by text, but the core sequence is stable: birth to a Brahmin family, gift of the axe, the killing of Jamadani, the vow, the punishment of Kartavira and other violent rulers, cycles of penance and gift, the support for Amba against Bhishma, the training and censure of Karna, the meeting with Rama of Ayodhya, the link to land on the west coast, and a long period of withdrawal in teaching. When details differ, the story still points to the same questions and the same limits. That stability across sources is why the figure remains strong in public memory. For modern viewers, a few lessons are practical. Duty without compassion can become cruelty. Compassion without courage can become surrender. Truth about your place and your limits matters more than short-term gain. Karna's rise and fall shows that lesson in plain form. Force used to stop harm must be limited, watched, and followed by repair. Parashurama never tried to own the outcome. He handed it back to society and stepped away. That discipline is rare, but it is useful in public life, at work, and at home. It is also useful in the way we read old stories. Look for the rule, the limit, and the handover, not only for the fight. If this clear, straightforward account of Parashurama helped you see the epic with fresh eyes, like the video so that the platform shows it to more viewers. Subscribe for more long-form myth told in simple language, and tell me in the comments which figure you want next, whether it is Bhishma, Rama of Ayodhya, Krishna, or a figure from another tradition. Thank you for watching.